Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Sharifa Ain Nadira binti Said Shafari Siza. My metric number is 281560. We are from Group 10. We would like to do a presentation about Usul Fiqh. First of all, background and situation that leads to establishment of Usul Fiqh. There are 4 time chains that are related to establishment of Usul Fiqh, starting from the time of Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam until the time of successors of successors. In the time of Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, all issues will be directed to Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. The law developed are based on the revealed verse of Quran and his own explanation. Next, the time of companions. After the death of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, there are companions who are replaced the task of develop the law of Usul Fiqh. This is because they have a strong command of the Arabic language. They are also hadith narrator. They develop the law based on the Quran, Sunnah, and also Ijma. Sometimes they will use the qiyas method during the ijtihad if the solution is not in the Quran or Sunnah. Next, the time of successors. The way ulama interpret the law in this time are almost same with the time of companions. The law developed by Quran, Sunnah, and also Ijma. They will first consult the companions' opinions before executing ijtihad. The last but not least, the time of successors of successors. Kitab Ar-Ra'yu by Abu Hanifah was believed to be the first kitab of Usul Fiqh. After that, Kitab Al-Usul and Kitab Usul Al-Fiqh, which is by Abu Yusuf and Muhammad ibn Hasan al-Shaybani. The two of them are the students of Abu Hanifah. Lastly, Al-Shafi'i wrote Kitab Ar-Risalah, which is a well-known treatise on Usul. Next, definition of Usul Fiqh. There are some scholars define the meaning of Usul Fiqh. The first one is Ar-Razi. Ar-Razi say, Usul Fiqh, it is an expression that includes all the evidence leading to fiqh when these are considered in broad sense, and for the legal reasoning proceeding from this evidence as well as for the status of the person undertaking such reasoning. Next, Al-Shawkani. It is the knowledge of principles by means of which one has an access to the derivation of the commands of the Sharia relating to the conduct of men on the basis of its detailed evidence. Lastly, Al-Baydawi. Al-Baydawi said, Usul al-Fiqh is the knowledge of the proof of fiqh in general, and the manner of their utilization, and the condition of the one who utilize them.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Siti Aisyah binti Syafi'i. My metric number 273815. Okay, so today I'm going to explain about the differences between fiqh, usul fiqh, and qawaid fiqh. We move to the next part, which is the differences between fiqh and usul fiqh. Basically, fiqh itself is concerned with the knowledge on the legal rules to conduct human acts in terms of legality and illegality. On the other hand, usul fiqh is a method to taking out Islamic ruling by the mujtahid from sources like Al-Quran, Sunnah, Ijma, and Qiyas. Okay, in terms of ruling, for fiqh is about the law itself, while for usul fiqh is about the methodology of law. Okay, next is the differences between usul fiqh and qawaid fiqh. So differences of term for usul fiqh is about the methodology of understanding and interpretation of Quran, Ijma, Qiyas, and Sunnah. While for qawaid fiqh is about the maxims that based on the fiqh itself. The purpose of usul fiqh is to focus on the indication and rulings, while for qawaid fiqh it focus on the deed of mukallaf or obligated. And the last one is in terms of ruling, for usul fiqh about the method which has been applied in deducing law from its sources, while for qawaid fiqh is about the method of derivation of law. And last but not least is the sources for usul fiqh is from the external part of fiqh. It's discussed on the pronunciation in Arabic, grammar, and balaghah. While for qawaid fiqh it's about the internal part of fiqh that derive from 5 hukum, which is wajib, obligatory, harus, recommended, makruh, disapproved, and the last one is haram, forbidden. So that's all.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Nur Atifah binti Abdul Razak. My metric number is 268128. Okay, I will share about the development of Usul Fiqh. The founder of Usul Fiqh is Imam Shafi'i. Imam Shafi'i name is Abu Abdullah Muhammad bin Idris al-Shafi'i. He was founding the principle of jurisprudence. Imam Shafi'i was considered as the father of the science of the Usul Fiqh. He was from the poor family background, but he willing to study. Imam Shafi'i is a hardworking person because he completely to memorize the Al-Quran with recognition of its rules and all the aspects of Islamic knowledge. The next is the push of development of Usul Fiqh. Imam al-Shafi'i was produced the Al-Risalah. Al-Risalah is a kitab Al-Risalah fil Usul al-Fiqh. This kitab briefly about the principle of Islamic jurisprudence. There are 4 different chapters in this kitab. The first chapter is mentioned about issue of Al-Quran, which are general, practical, nas and mansukh. The next chapter is briefly about sunnah, such as hadith ahad and its position and categories of hadith. The third chapter is about meaning and position of ijma. The last chapter is the various issue on al-qiyas. Al-Risalah overview about the methodology in finding, completing, and formulating the Islamic laws systematic. This kitab is a reference for the scholars, students, researchers, or observers looking for then and now. Besides Al-Risalah, Imam Al-Shafi'i also provide another books such as Ahkam Al-Quran, Ihtilat Al-Hadith, Jama' Al-Ilm, and Al-Qiyas.
Assalamualaikum, my name is Intan Abaikis binti Osman. My metric number is 269442. Next, I will explain about major discussion in Usul Fiqh. So Usul Fiqh refers to the body of evidence and approaches that Islamic jurists utilize to provide ruling, fatwas and hukum to problems arise. Mainly, Usul Fiqh discusses about characteristics of Quran and Sunnah, which are the primary sources of Islamic law. Besides, Usul Fiqh also discuss about the secondary sources of Islamic law such as ijma, qiyas, istihsan, ijtihad and istishab. In the meantime, Usul Fiqh discusses other main issue involving Islamic law such as the grades of the Islamic legal provision, that is what is haram, makruh, mandub and so on. But the major discussion in Usul Fiqh is deducing the ruling and hukum using the sources of Islamic law and Sharia teaching. For the primary sources, the first one is Al-Quran. Al-Quran is a book containing the speech of Allah, revealed to Prophet Muhammad SAW in Arabic and transmitted to us by mutawatir. The things that have been discussed in Al-Quran is proposition or dalil, qat'i, and zanni. For example, for dalil qat'i, in Surah Al-Ma'idah, verse 38, it says to cut off from the wrist joint the right hand of the thief, male or female, as a recompense for that which they committed, a punishment by way of example from Allah. And Allah is all-powerful, all-wise. This verse deducing the hukum directly, which tells us to cut off from the wrist joint the right hand of the thief. For dalil zanni, in Surah Al-Ma'idah, verse 6, Auzubillahi minasyaitonir rajim, faghsilu wujuhakum, that means to rub your heads. This doesn't show until what level we have to rub our heads when we make wudu. So this is classified as dalil zanni, which is speculative. Another thing that has been discussed is the type of verses in Al-Quran, which consists of muhkamat, which is clear and comprehensible, and mutashabihat, which is uncertain. For example, the verses that is under muhkamat, which is clear, is from Surah Al-Baqarah, verses 275. Auzubillahi minasyaitonir rajim, wa ahallallahu al-bay'a wa harrama riba. That says, whereas Allah has permitted trading and forbidden riba. The example of verses of mutashabihat we can see from Surah Al-Baqarah, verses 1, which is alif lam mim. That means that only Allah knows what the meaning behind these verses, which is uncertain, we don't know. The second element in primary sources of Islamic law is As-Sunnah. As-Sunnah refers to all that is narrated from the Prophet Muhammad SAW, his acts, his sayings, and whatever he approved. Sunnah, in addition to the Al-Quran, is the source of Sharia in the Usul Fiqh. As-Sunnah can work as a supporter to support the Quran who carry the same hukum. For example, in Surah An-Nisa, verse 11, Allah said, Allah commands you as regards your children's inheritance. In hadith SAW by Ibn Majah and At-Tirmizi, which is Al-Qatilu la yarithu. It explains that murderer cannot inherit the inheritance. So, the hadith specified the verses in Al-Quran which murderer cannot inherit the inheritance. Next is secondary sources, which consists of ijma and qiyas. Ijma is the verbal noun of the Arabic word ajma, which has two meanings: to determine, to agree upon something. After the Quran and the Sunnah, ijma is considered the third evidence of Sharia. It is essentially a logical proof of Sharia proof, and ijtihad or an interpretation of one of few scholars when becomes universal becomes ijma. The classical concept of ijma, as laid down by ulama of Usul al-Fiqh, is categorical in the sense that it can be considered as conclusive ijma if the whole scholars of the Muslim community agree. The last one is qiyas. Qiyas refers to a comparison that is used to determine if two items are identical or similar. The extension of Sharia decision from an original case to a new case, since the new cause has the same effective cause, which is illah, as the original case is known as qiyas in Usul Fiqh. The original case is governed by a text of the Quran or Sunnah, and qiyas seeks to extend the original ruling to the current situation. The emphasis of qiyas is on determining a common cause in both the original and new cases. For example, tuak, which is a beverage, consists of fermented rice, yeast and sugar, is haram.
because it is replaced by alcohol that can make us intoxicating.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Intan Sharina binti Zulefli. My metric number is 270132. Okay, next is the importance of learning Usul Fiqh. Okay, there are few importance of learning Usul Fiqh nowadays, and first of all, we should try to get know about all the law or hukums so that we will never hesitate to apply it in our life. Okay, in other way or in other word, we can be confident to do all the good deeds without to be hesitate at all. Okay, secondly, we can maintain the Islamic Sharia. Okay, as we know, the science of Usul Fiqh preserve all the proposition of Sharia from misuse by the public. In addition, it also protect all the argument and also the basis of law. Okay, furthermore, we can gain knowledge on how the scholar make or set the law or hukum for a certain issue that arise in the meantime using the istinbat. The scholar using istinbat, where the scholar invoke a maxim as a kind of partial evidence to support a ruling for the new case arise. Last but not least, the importance of learning Usul Fiqh is where we know how the process went on to set the new law for the new issues, and we obviously know that to set the law we cannot use the last, and we should refer to the scholar need to refer to the Quran and other main sources to set the new law or new ruling for the certain cases.
As the conclusion, knowing the ins and outs of legal methods is important for mujtahid, so that process of inferring a law becomes more effective by taking into account relevant factors such as maqasid, local climate, time, and the individual circumstances. Thus, understanding usul fiqh is necessary in order to celebrate the uniqueness and needs of human life in accordance with the Sharia spirit, as well as to enhance Muslim identity in order to always be driven by revelation. It's all from us, Group 10. Thank you.